Bitcoin was invented in 2008 by a person or group using the name Satoshi Nakamoto. This crypto was launched on January 9, 2019. Bitcoin is a decentralized digital currency that can be transferred from user to user on the Bitcoin network without the need for intermediaries. Wei Dai Bcash, Nick Szabo BitGold, David Chaum DigiCash are the most primitive and government-blocked versions of digital currencies. The Bitcoin network went live on January 3, 2009. The author of the article is Satoshi Nakamoto. There are debates about his real name, pseudonym or title of a team. The maximum number of bitcoins that can be produced is limited to 21 million by specifying in the Genesis block. The first purchase was made on May 22, 2010 with the purchase of a pizza for 10,000 bitcoins. The first purchase was made on May 22, 2010 with the purchase of pizza for 10,000 bitcoins. As of July 22, 2013, the total value of bitcoins in circulation was $1.2 billion, and as of 26 July 2020 this value was $182,967,290. The total amount of Bitcoin currently produced has reached the level of 19,031,243. The value of Bitcoin is determined by the supply and demand conditions in the market. When the demand increases, the price increases and the price decreases. There is a limited amount of Bitcoins in circulation and there is a limit and procedure for generating new Bitcoins. The biggest threats to Bitcoin's market value are technical difficulties, legislative changes due to the approach of countries to this money, and the negative change in people's desire and trust in this money. Bitcoins, which are not produced from any center, show a point-to-point distributed network feature similar to BitTorrent networks. Payments made in this network reach other points instantly, so that the payment from which address to which address is recorded. Thus, the collected records are located in structures called blocks. By applying a hash algorithm that requires high processing on each block, it is desired to find the expression that starts with a certain number of zeros. The first user who performs this operation, which corresponds to approximately every 10 minutes, is awarded from 0 to 50 BTC, currently 12.5 BTC. The process of creating money is called mining. Mining is the general name of the process of performing mathematical operations using computational power and power. In order to make these transactions, the nodes in the Bitcoin network, which download the offered Bitcoin software and perform operations that require intensive processing power on their hardware, usually video cards, are called miners. The name of the first block of the system is named Genesis block, and it was produced on January 4, 2009. As such, the first transaction in the block is a private transaction and is initiated by the creator of the new money block. This is an incentive system for miners to join the network, so that money can enter the system distributed as desired, without a central authority to issue the money. In this way, miners earn by both generating and driving new bitcoins into the system and receiving bitcoins from the system in return for services to perform pending transactions. Bitcoin is used as a payment and investment tool in some countries. In Turkey, it is possible to buy Bitcoin for TL. Bitcoins have a value because they can be used like money, and some funds are also known to be interested in this product with the expectation that its value will increase as its popularity grows in the future. Economy. Journalists, economists and the Estonian Central Bank have expressed concerns that Bitcoin is a Ponzi scheme. Eric Posner, a professor of law at the University of Chicago, said in 2013 that a real Ponzi game is a fraud, while Bitcoin is rather like a collective psychedelic. In 2014, reports by both the World Bank and the Swiss Federal Council on Bitcoin and the Ponzi game examined the concerns and concluded that Bitcoin is not a Ponzi scheme. Financial journalists, analysts, economists and investors try to predict the possible future value of Bitcoin. Bitcoin will eventually reach zero values, but it's impossible to say when, economist John Quiggin said in April 2013. A similar prediction was made by economist Kevin Dowd in November 2014. Professor of Finance Mark T. Williams predicted in December 2013 that Bitcoin would drop below $10 by mid-2014. In November 2014, New York City. David Yermak, professor of finance at the University of Stern School of Business, stated that Bitcoin would be worthless in November 2015. During this period, Bitcoin's lowest value in January was $176.70, and in November of the same year it was $309.90. In December 2013, Bank of America FX and rate strategist David Wu predicted that a maximum value of $1,300 per single Bitcoin would be reasonable. Bitcoin investor Cameron Winklevoss stated in December 2013 that Bitcoin could be worth $40,000. There have been many news that Bitcoin is over. In early 2015, a journalist reported 29 news stories about Bitcoin's demise. Forbes magazine announced the end of Bitcoin in June 2011. This announcement was followed by Gizmodo Australia magazine in August 2011. Wired magazine announced its expiring in December 2012. WeShare magazine reported Game Over Bitcoin in May 2013, and New York magazine reported On the Way to the Grave in June 2013. Reuters reported Obituary in January 2014. Street Insider reported Bitcoin dead in February 2014. In the wake of these news, The Weekly Standard March 2014, Salon March 2014, Vice News March 2014, Financial Times in September 2014 published news that Bitcoin was over. In January 2015, USA Today stated that Bitcoin was gone to the ashtray, and Telegraph reported Bitcoin experiment is over. Former Bitcoin developer Mike Hearn described Bitcoin as a failed project in January 2016. Peter Greenhill, head of electronic business development at the Isle of Man, said that Bitcoin end ads are overrated. While some economists view Bitcoin positively, others are skeptical. François R. Veld, a senior economist at the Chicago Fed, described Bitcoin as an elegant way to create digital money. Paul Krugman and Brad DeLong found errors on Bitcoin when they questioned why it should be stable and its base value. Economist John Quiggin has criticized Bitcoin as the latest confusion of the efficient market hypothesis. Street. Louis Federal Bank, David Andolfatto stated that Bitcoin is a threat to the organization. Free software movement activist Richard Stallman complained about the lack of anonymity and called for improved development. PayPal president David A. Marcus calls Bitcoin the perfect place to put savings but has argued that it won't become a currency until the imbalance in its value subsides. Regarding the cost of moving money from one place to another, Bill Gates said in an interview with Bloomberg LP, Bitcoin is exciting because it shows how cheap it can be. In 2015, the number of merchants accepting Bitcoin exceeded 100,000. As of 2014, some companies accept payments in Bitcoin. More Part 2. Part 2. Bitcoin. The Electronic Frontier Foundation, Greenpeace, Mozilla Foundation, Wikimedia Foundation, and Free Software Foundation. Accepted by some American politicians, including New York Democratic Congressman Jeff Curzon, have said they will accept donations made in Bitcoin to their campaigns. Merchants like Dish Network that accept Bitcoin use the services of Bitcoin payment service providers like BitPay or Coinbase. When a customer pays in Bitcoin, the payment service provider accepts the payment on behalf of the merchant, sends the received amount to the merchant's bank account, and charges less than 1% of the amount for this service. Due to Bitcoin's design for use in retail transactions, all retail value is an estimate only. According to Tim Swanson, head of business development at a Hong Kong-based technology company, daily retail purchases with Bitcoin in 2014 were worth approximately $2.3 million. Again, according to Tim Swanson's estimates as of February 2015, he stated that less than 5,000 Bitcoins were used in retail purchases per day, and in 2014 concluded that the increase in the use of Bitcoin in retail purchases was very small. Because of banks concerned about Bitcoin engaging in illegal activities, Bitcoin companies have difficulty opening bank accounts. According to Antonio Gallipie, co-founder of BitPay, banks are afraid even if they want to work with Bitcoin companies. In 2014, the National Bank of Australia closed the accounts of Bitcoin-linked businesses, and HSBC refused to offer a Bitcoin-linked mutual fund. Some Argentines have bought Bitcoin to protect against high inflation or in case governments seize their savings accounts. During the financial crisis in Cyprus in 2012–2013, the purchase of Bitcoin increased due to public concern that their accounts would be seized or taxed. Another investment management is Bitcoin funds. The first Bitcoin fund was established in Jersey in July 2014 and was approved by the Jersey Financial Services Commission. Also, the Winklevoss brothers claimed to own 1% of the entire Bitcoin account in April 2013, attempted to set up a Bitcoin ETF in 2012. As of March 10, 2017, the ETF was rejected by the SEC due to regulatory concerns. After this announcement, the value of Bitcoin dropped 15% in a few minutes but mostly recovered in a short time. Beginning in early 2015, a New York-based Bitcoin exchange plan called Gemini has been announced. It was announced that it received approval to launch on October 5, 2015. Instead of buying Bitcoin, venture capitalists like Peter Thiel are giving their infrastructure to merchants, exchanges, wallet services, etc. They finance them like companies that provide payment systems. The company's goal is to support 100 Bitcoin businesses for $10,000 to $20,000 for a 6% stake in 2 to 3 years. Investors have also invested in Bitcoin mining. According to a study by Paulo Tasca in 2015, Bitcoin companies earned nearly $1 billion in 3 years Q1 2012–Q1 2012. The idea of freeing money from central monopoly of virtual currencies such as Bitcoin is theoretically based on the Austrian School of Economics. In particular, Friedrich von Hayek's book Denationalization of Money, The Argument Refined, is about ending the central bank monopoly of money production, distribution and control. Bitcoin appeals to tech-savvy libertarians because it is beyond the reach of corporate banking systems and government control to date. However, researchers who wanted to uncover the reasons for the interest in Bitcoin could not find a libertarian link in Google search data. Bitcoin legal status varies from country to country, and for many it is still undefined or changing. While some countries have allowed its use, others have banned it. Likewise, various government agencies, departments, and courts have classified Bitcoin differently. The rules and prohibitions that apply to Bitcoin also apply to similar electronic currencies. Stephen Strauss, a Harvard public policy professor, suggested in April 2013 that governments might ban Bitcoin, and this possibility was reiterated by a Bitcoin investment vehicle in July 2013. However, the vast majority of countries have not implemented a ban on Bitcoin since 2014. Some of the countries where Bitcoin is banned are Bangladesh, Bolivia, and Ecuador. However, in addition to all these, there are also countries where Bitcoin is declared the official currency. El Salvador declared Bitcoin the official currency with the bill passed by the Senate on June 8, 2021. In March 2017, Northwestern University Pritzker School of Law professors John O. McGinnis and Kyle W. Roche suggested that Bitcoin represents a stronger third currency regime against government control because it is not physically stored anywhere and operates on an encrypted infrastructure. It took. The use of Bitcoin by criminals has attracted the attention of financial regulators, legislatures, law enforcement and the media. The FBI prepared an intelligence report on this topic, the SEC issued a warning on investments in virtual currency, and in November 2013 the U.S. Senate held a hearing on virtual currencies. There are many reports stating that the popularity of Bitcoin is due to its use in illegal transactions. In 2014, researchers at the University of Kentucky showed that computer programmers and illegal activities were attracted to Bitcoin, finding limited political and investment support. A CMU researcher in 2012 estimated that between 4.5 and 9% of all transactions on the world stock markets take place in the web drug market, Silk Road. Due to the lack of centralized control and the anonymous nature, it is difficult to know whether these trades were made or just faked to buy Bitcoin. Several deep web black markets have been shut down by the authorities. In October 2013, Silk Road was closed by U.S. law enforcement, resulting in a short-term decline in Bitcoin's value. In 2015, the founder of the site was sentenced to prison. Alternative sites were soon launched, and the Australian Broadcasting Corporation reported that the closure of Silk Road in early 2014 did not affect the number of Australians selling drugs online. At the beginning of 2014, Dutch authorities closed the online illegal trading site Utopia and cost 900 bitcoins confiscated. In late 2014, 400 deep web sites were shut down and their bitcoins seized in a joint European and American operation. In December 2014, Charlie Shrem was sentenced to 2 years in prison for indirectly helping to send 1 million